everyone, IRL. I'm here with Farzan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
One of the pieces you did recently that I thought was really interesting was about earthquakes and how the blockchain is documenting those. You had a great interview with Rob from the Data History Museum. It is available on YouTube and all those other streaming services, right?
Yes, yeah. This is a project on Algorand called Data History Museum, and it's kind of run by a fellow called Rob Moore, who runs some other projects on the side as well. But the main goal behind it is to build a system to kind of document these events, and the events that they've kind of chosen to go with is earthquakes. So earthquakes are a global phenomena that happen all over the world all the time, and the idea that they want to portray is that using the blockchain we can store this information. The way I see it is it kind of prevents information being lost, right? So if you look 100, 200, 300 years ago, we would have paper records, and then if the building burnt down, you lose all of that information, whether that's a library, whether that's an office or whatever. It gets lost. Even now, there's less of a risk of data being lost, right? If your servers burn down, hopefully you have a backup. If you don't, then your data's gone. But with the blockchain, the idea is that there are hundreds and thousands of nodes all storing this information across the world. So any information that's stored, as long as one of these nodes still exists, this information will exist and is accessible for everyone. So this project currently focuses on earthquakes and expanding into solar flares. They work with the United States Geological Survey, the USGS, who have a feed of data where they publish information about earthquakes as they happen in real time. And what Data History Museum does is takes this information as it comes in real time and mints it as an NFT. And this NFT will give you some basic information about where it happened. So it will be like a little picture of like the map of the country where it happened. It will show you the size of the earthquake, so the magnitude of the earthquake, and also a bit more information about where it happened.
I know with technology, as far as cybersecurity goes, which is your specialty, the more exposure, right? The more touch points, the more likely it can be compromised, right? The more opportunity there is. So the fact that these are minted as that information comes in basically eliminates humans altogether from documenting it on blockchain. And I think the accessibility of blockchain and that anybody can access that data, right? So we know around the world, not everybody has the same internet, right? Like you can potentially not be able to see US geographical data depending on what country you're in and the regulations they have on their internet.
You can actually look through the blockchain or look through the platform and have all of this information given to you without having to go through, some sort of like specific platform which may ask you, hey, why are you asking for this information? This information would become public information accessible by anyone at any time without having to jump through hoops.
Someone once explained to me, Web3 is verifiable, immutable data resources, right? So it's there forever. Anybody can access it, but nobody can change it. And that's really interesting. So I watched the interview with Rob, and he's a smart guy, right? He's really into this type of ecological data, right? Like that's kind of what he does. And I thought it was really interesting that the earthquakes were chosen, but B, kind of pulling from another side of what's being developed on the blockchain, insurance, right? We're just now kind of starting to see the first insurance platforms come live on Web3. And think about the rating, right? Like coming from the insurance industry, I know what it's like to try to get a flood table updated. And
for insurance, right? It would be awesome if an insurance company could, link in with Data History Museum, use some of their what we would call APIs to actually pull the information, and the Data History Museum would actually pull their data from the blockchain because they've minted these NFTs. They know exactly which NFTs they are. They can pull this information in real time and provide it to the insurance providers. So now when you need to fill out your flood table, you can just run a script instead and it would populate it for you. So then it cuts out a lot of the waiting around.
I can see how so much of this would benefit from being a reliable, verifiable, immutable source of data for anyone, and how that might potentially affect earthquake insurance, for example, having these on chain. So that's really exciting. I appreciate it.
Their website is museum.datahistory.org, and you can see all of the NFTs that they've minted. And they also have like a nice little map of the Earth to show where all these earthquakes are happening, which is really cool. So they've actually minted these. They've got some special edition ones as well, like when two earthquakes happen in like close proximity of each other. I think they've given it a certain name, and they've minted like a special collection surrounding those, because those are, I'm assuming, like quite rare events to happen. So they've kind of got their own rarity scores built in to an extent.
Well, you have to make collecting fun, right? Like,
Yes.
Scientists, I always say devs are people too, but scientists are people too, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
If you're studying earthquakes, or like you said, I think next on their slate is solar flare, so I can't wait to hear more about like how that exactly works. But I see endless opportunities for it. I was really interested on the concept of minting it as it happens, and it being kind of open access, right? Like anybody, you don't have to own the NFT to see the metadata. So anybody could pull, essentially, even if not from Data History Museum's API, NFT Explorer's or Algo Explorer's API.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can, if you know what you're doing, you could actually just go to the Algorand blockchain directly and pull the information yourself. Because you could go through the History Museum, you can potentially go through other platforms, or you can just go through the blockchain itself, which is where the data actually comes from. Yeah.
Right, like the Algo Explorer, you're talking about like the over my head, but I do know I can see it on Algo Explorer and NFT Explorer. But Algo Explorer shows those same things for every transaction, every asset created. It's really interesting. All right, so we've landed on IRL and Farzan.
Yep.
And you're going to talk to me again really soon.
Hopefully, if people like it, then I guess I'll be back.
Thank you, Farzan.